Good afternoon, 2024 matriculants. Now we are coming to part 2 of our Black Power movement. Now we are going to focus our attention on the role that was played by the Black Panther Party, the community-based programs that were introduced by the Black Panther Party, as well as the gains of the Black Power movement, as well as what was the state reaction on the violent methods that were used by the Black Panther Party, because we know that it was militant enough. Now, let's look on our first slide. Furthermore, the Black Panther Party was formed in 1966. This party was formed by Bobby Seale and Newton to put the principles of the Black Power into action. In other words, the philosophy of the Black Power movement, it was saying that African Americans must end reliance on the whites. Now this party, it was formed in 1966 to show that indeed that African Americans have ended self-reliance on the whites. They were doing things for themselves. So in other words, it was putting the theory into practice. This Black Panther Party, it supported many community-based programs and feeding schemes, as well as anti-poverty schemes. They use the 10 points plan as their manifesto. So this party, it used the 10 points plan as their manifesto. What is the 10 points plan? It covered social, political, and economic goals. What did they want to achieve? They demanded the release of political prisoners, decent houses, Black history to be taught in schools. It is self-explanatory. It says 10 points plan, meaning they had 10 points. I've just highlighted the few points from the 10 points. They demanded the release of political prisoners, decent houses, Black history to be taught in schools. The Black Panther Party was formed to defend the African Americans against the white police brutality. In other words, its sole purpose, it was to make the point that the African Americans are not abused by the white police. It focused on socio-economic conditions of African Americans since it operated many survival programs. It operated the feeding schemes, the soup kitchens, the homework clubs to show that they have community-based programs to show that they are self-reliant. The feeding schemes eradicated hunger amongst the youth and improved learning in schools. This indicated that these community-based programs were very effective because they made learners to concentrate more in schools. Furthermore, the Black Panthers Literacy Project, they eradicated illiteracy among African Americans in Black communities. This means that these community-based projects had a direct impact in uplifting Black communities because they eradicated illiteracy among African Americans in Black communities. The Child Care Project took care of medical needs of the African Americans. Furthermore, the Black Panther Party was involved in street patrols. In other words, they were carrying guns in patrolling the street because their one aim, it was to protect African Americans against white police brutality. So we can really see that the African Americans, it was a militant group, this group which was called as the Black Panther Party. They were protecting the African Americans against white police brutality. In doing that, they also promoted African Americans to carry guns. So, in other words, learners must know that despite the fact that this party, it was militant, it had a positive side. What was the positive side? Because it had introduced many survival schemes, like those feeding schemes, which were very effective in making learners to concentrate in schools. So they must not only dwell much on this negative side, on the fact that it was a militant group. So this party, it had both sides. It was militant enough because it caused violence. Yet, at the same time, it was operating survival schemes that were very, very effective in uplifting African Americans' communities. Now, how did the state react when it finds that now this Black Panther Party, it is very, very violent? So the state used ruthless methods. So the state was very ruthless in suppressing these violent methods. There were many violent clashes between the white police and the Black Panther members. The state instructed the FBI to keep a surveillance eye among the activities that were done by the Black Panther members. What did the FBI do? The FBI, it raided the offices of the Black Panther members and seized important documents. Many members of the Black Power movement were arrested. Others were killed with poisonous substances by the FBI, and others with live ammunition. In other words, what was the state response? The state, it responded in a ruthless manner because it felt that now this Black Power movement, it was challenging the state because there were many violent clashes between the white police and the members of the Black Panther Party. So it reacted harshly. That's what we mean by ruthless. The offices of the Black Power movement members, they were seized and important documents were seized. That led to the FBI to arrest many members of the Black Power movement. Many members of the Black Power movement were killed by poisonous substances. Others were killed with live ammunition, and others were arrested. This indicates that the state reacted very harshly in the Black Power movement violent methods. However, the struggle of the Black Power movement, it was a success. Despite the fact that many of them were killed and others were arrested, they reaped the rewards. What were the rewards? The most obvious forms of discrimination ended. Learners will remember this struggle was to end segregation and discrimination. So they reaped the rewards because the most forms of racial discrimination ended. The racial tension that was rife in southern states of America, it declined. Many African Americans, they were elected to public offices. African Americans were living in ghettos. After they have fought hard, the state now built proper houses for them. That is, the housing facilities of the African Americans improved. So, what does that literally mean? It means, in as much as they were killed, they were arrested. So, their efforts were not in vain, because the federal government yielded to their demands. Now, obvious forms of racial discrimination ended. The violence that was rife in southern state, it ended. So we can see now that America yielded to their demands. This indicates that the Black Power movement struggle was a success. So, hence I've already indicated earlier on that when the learner is dealing with the Black Panther Party, he must know that this party, it had two sides. There's a positive side as well as the negative side. That negative side is the fact that they were too militant. They had many tensions and there were many clashes between them and the white police. But there was a positive side because they operated many survival schemes. There were soup kitchens that managed to uplift the communities. There were free breakfast that was given to learners who were attending schools. And those community programs, we indicated that they were very effective. They managed to make the learners to concentrate at schools. And the Black Panther Party had medical aid facilities which helped poor African Americans. So it means, therefore, learners must be able to know that this Black Panther Party, indeed, it had both the negative as well as the positive side. And they must know that through the efforts of the Black Power movement, the African Americans were treated as humans. They were now elevated and were employed in public service posts. They were employed now to be mayors and councillors. So there were many affirmative action laws that were signed in order to uplift and end the unemployment amongst African Americans. I thank you, matriculants, for paying attention once more. We know that learners, they like the American history, but hence I've already alluded to. Then they must emphasize the fact that this Black Panther Party, it had both sides, both the negative one and the positive one. And they must also note that the struggle of the Black Power movement, it was a success. Why was the Black Power movement introduced